I just wanted to jump in, like this isn't in the script. I used to work with a band so I'm in the UK, but I used to work with a band from mainland Europe. And in the UK, we have our government, UK Trade and Investment, will give money for businesses, car companies, food companies, intellectual property, music companies, to do stuff internationally. But they don't really have an export office. So what you end up with is you apply for a grant to go on a trade mission of some sort. And they understand that if you're a car company, you would like to take one of your cars, put it on a trade stand in South Korea, and hand out leaflets saying what a great car it is, and have conversations. And when you've got a band, it's the same thing. You'd like to go to Germany and put your band on a stage and let everyone see how great it is, and hand out information. So it really is a business thing, the export thing, and many countries don't understand it. They're still like, they'll give a load of money to put a car on a stand in South Korea, but might not give a load of money to put artists on a stand in Germany. The value of the creative industries has long been miscalculated, undervalued, because what they tended to do is they would say, this album sold that many copies, that's the value of that artist. They didn't see all this big cloud of activity that we're talking about. So governments are slowly waking up to the value for their economy, for employment, for jobs, for revenues, for taxes, of culture, of artists, of music. We're slowly getting there with developing that side of it. So it's really interesting that what you've got here with this SoundCzech and this office opening up and these events that people like Martin and his team are developing for you, is you've got one of the better teams setting up here, and they've got a true vision, particularly from the artist perspective, of how it progresses. My experience of the UK was they would work with big record companies who had lots of money already to go and put stuff on a stand in South Korea. They wouldn't help a cool artist who was getting radio play in France to go to Paris. It's really hard, if you're the export body, to decide who exports. So in every country there is a band, there's a four-piece indie band that plays sort of melodic rock, and they have hit records. There's one in Belgium, there's one here, I don't know what they're called, but they're here. I know the ones in the UK, I know the ones in Ireland, there's ones in Portugal. There's one of those in every country. There's a singer, male or female, who's got great romantic songs, is a little bit cheeky but is not dangerous, who has massive hits. These artists often make up a huge portion of radio play of success in any country, but they're not necessarily exportable. At the point where you guys have access to an export office and a team who can help you export, they've got a really hard job, because all of you have a vision and see why you would do well in this country or that country. They have to somehow try and figure out how to filter through the ones that are just successful here but aren't really export ready, or there's no market for them internationally because there's already stuff like that, and the ones that are special and different and that could work internationally. And we touched yesterday on the US market is quite different from the UK market, the French market is different again. So figuring out...
Just to add, otherwise I will forget, usually it's not the music export offices, or in this case SoundCzech, that are choosing the artists, because like the event like Eurosonic, this is one of the biggest showcase European festival in Holland, they have amazing team of bookers who are working on this all year long, who are going to check European artists. So they are the one who are making the decision, not actual export offices. So this is the difference that people don't make. So it's a...
And none of the cases the export offices are really the
This
ones.
is what I'm saying. This is,
and that's the principle of export offices as well.
But people don't have this.
You keep at this, we're talking about you, not with you.
Yeah, because people sometimes have like, they say, oh, why did they like this, this export office is pushing this band. It's like, no, they got invited through people, and then you are lucky, as we said, that you have this now facility, and they are the one who will help you on this way, and this is their role. They are not, how how to say, your managers. People sometimes see export office as your manager. No, they are overloaded with work anyway, because small team, like a huge world, I say like this, I don't know, 200 countries you have to think, so many events, and also like other countries, they have bigger budgets, like comparing like France, compared to let's say Czech Republic, it's like not even 1%. Let's be real. So it's really, this is why it will be much harder for Polish export office, or Czech or Slovakian to do any successes, or like even intercontinental countries, they have huge export strategies. They are coming and investing, and we are like a small part. And this is what people don't get. This is not, we are like managers, not the export offices. We are partners, and then we work together when we go somewhere.
Also, export office can help you out with just like the covering your costs actually, because if you book the shows outside of your country, they can cover you. I don't know how it works in Czech Republic, but in Poland it works like this, that the export office actually have the programs that you can apply for, and you can get, like, for example, the train tickets get back, or flight tickets get back, or your hotels, whatever.
It varies per country, it varies year to year, it depends how they're funded, depends what the government or whoever's funding them says, it depends on how much budget they've got left for the year, it depends on whether the people, the buyers, so people in other countries, are interested in you, as to whether they can allocate budget to you, because they can't just say, we really like these guys, we'll take them to the country that says they're awful, instead of this other band that we don't really like, but that country says they're really good. So no export office is making any decisions based on personalities, favouritism, friendship, or even really on whether they think your music is great or bad. They are going to look at you. Are you running a proper business? Are you a professional? If they gave you this platform, this opportunity that all the other artists want, would you actually pay attention? So if they got you to like this Eurosonic event, which is this big event in Netherlands, which has got an interesting focus for you guys next year in January, if you guys don't do your research in advance, then you don't know why you're going there, and you haven't sorted out your brand, and you don't know what your bonus content is, and you've not really seen it as a great strategic opportunity, them putting your band, or you are the band, on a stage so that people can discover you, that's not going to work.
That's actually how it doesn't work, because if you, for example, we have the Spring Break Festival when you can show up with your band, but if you will not contact with journalists or the people from the media, from the promoters that they should show up at your show, there is no use to go there actually, because nobody will cares about it except the people who's gonna be accidentally the visitors of the festivals. So the thing is, like, the most you need to do research before you will go to the showcase festival. As well, about what do you say about the export office, I don't know also how it works in Czech Republic, but in my country it works like this. If you are a band, even if you are like the small band, but you have a plan for your promotion outside of Poland, then it's other program that you can apply for. There's like more money you can spend on PR agencies outside of Poland, etc., etc. But the thing is, you need to have a plan at least for a year. That's what's your plan for your band. If you have a strategy, then you can send it to the export office and they will support your plans.
We'll come back to this thing of building a strategy, but what the three of us wanted to get across to you guys is, you've got SoundCzech, the people who are in it are good, they've got a really difficult job. The buyers, the people who you're trying to sell to, are really the decision makers. The buyers won't be basing their decision on what somebody from SoundCzech said to them. SoundCzech will pass because they have the network, they have the contacts, and they know how to approach these people, and they get listened to. They will pass your stuff on. Your stuff needs to be in good order, which is one of the reasons why they're organising this workshop, is to help you guys to improve your skills, to improve your networking amongst each other. Make sure you spend as much time talking to each other and getting your own contacts as us, because we're going to leave, we all live elsewhere. You guys can carry on building together, and you must see SoundCzech as a central part of your community. I worked with a band who had a hit record in their domestic country. They had an amazingly well-funded export office, and it made them really lazy. And a lot of their peer groups and other bands from that market had a problem that the export office was so powerful and had so much money that they could easily go and play at South by Southwest, a big event in Austin, Texas. And they really took it for granted. They became really lazy. So the worry for me with export offices is a lot of artists don't understand how complicated it is and how hard it is for the export office and how they're there to help you. And the word Damon uses, they're your partners. And then a lot of bands become very lazy. What Dee Dee's saying is take responsibility and do it yourself. They're your partners, they're there to help you. We'll dive back into, we'll just finish up on the streaming stuff. So YouTube, Spotify and SoundCloud are all offering you guys opportunity to log in, identify yourselves and get usage data back from them. The real baby step on usage data is knowing where a fan lives. So if you see that you've got a lot of fans in Budapest and no fans in Wrocław, you might book a show in Budapest and try and do some marketing in Wrocław. It's a real baby step, geography. So the platforms, particularly YouTube, the data on YouTube is the best, it's the richest. Go into it, download it as a spreadsheet, learn what it is. If you don't understand it, get friends to look at it. Find people who can start to interpret it for you, play with it, figure out the baby step, where are our fans, geography, then try and build up a much more sophisticated understanding of who your fans are. Pull as much data as you can in from Facebook, from live shows. The oldest way of market research for an artist manager is they will stand at the side of the stage while the band is playing. They will look out at the audience. The drummer can do this very easily as well. And they will see, like, oh, this is what haircuts we've got. This is the other band t-shirts that are in the audience. This is the songs that they're reacting to. That's the old form of data capture. It's looking at your audience in a show and figuring out who they are, and then understanding a bit more about where they might go, what they might be interested in. And often the audience is not the same as what the artist thinks they are. The artist has a perception of, we're really cool and edgy, we've got this audience. And maybe you're not that cool and you've got a different audience. That's fine, because maybe that's a better audience for you in the long run, or a bigger audience. So don't get too fixated as an artist on who you think your audience is. Do try and figure out who they really are. With digital, you're getting better data than we've ever had on who they really are. Go beyond the baby step of geography into working out a bit more who they are, what they're interested in. Are they vegetarians? What were the other videos they watched? Let's say there's a band on YouTube that you haven't heard of that's from Hungary or from Germany, and a lot of your fans seem to watch theirs. Maybe contact that band directly and say, hey, we think there's an overlap between our fans. We checked out your music, we really like it. Do you want to come and do a support show with us? Can we come and do a support show with you? Start to use the data, not just to identify who your audience is, but then who the artists are that your audience connects to, which brands they connect to. Are they into a particular type of skatewear? Can you approach that company that does those hats? Things like that.
I don't know.
Go for it.
So, from my experience, it's also cool to do the similar thing with like bookers and venue promoters and organizers. So if you already have like a little roster of these people, you're probably using MailChimp or other type of service, so you can easily really see where people, like what bookers from what territory they're interested in what you are doing. And then what we sometimes do, we approach them because we can see they opened the email like 5 times, so well, probably they're interested. So then like you can target it also a little bit better, even like through bookers, not just the fans.
Also, but the good thing about finding this kind of booker, it's like find out if he's in your genre, the first thing, and probably the best way also is like checking the similar band to yours, if where did they play, and just check club by club who organized it. And also it's a good way to just try to find somebody who would be interesting to put your shows in your city. So that's also the way that you can export your music outside of your country.
And also cooperation again. If you find similar artists to yourself in a country like Croatia or Poland, this is how we did it in the old
exchange shows.
Yeah. So we have like a Croatian band. They put their show and they invite support group. Same genre it fits to come. Otherwise, this band wouldn't have so much audience, and vice versa. So if you have similar artists to you in any of our countries, to go to tour together, it makes lots of sense.
And there's even a program for it.
Really?
So SoundCzech Connect is exactly for
There you
this.
go.
That supports exactly that activity, and what you're saying is perfectly.
And the goal for our bands is to actually reach the how to say matching international genre. So it will be perfect for Peter, let's say, to find a band, big, let's say American or British band who took Czech band on a tour at least. These days we have the issue why it's so hard to reach this point to have our bands playing, because bands are not choosing anymore. Their labels are choosing the management. So even if you find the way we used to work, like me and Damien, we would, oh, these two, they could fit together, let's get them on tour. And but now when we have these big structures around, they are the decision makers. So even if, let's say, Arctic Monkeys says to Peter, like, let's do the show, then the manager will say, oh, Alex, you cannot do it like this, because we have a contract, we arrange with Queens of the Stone Age, they give you studio, Queens of the Stone Age wants you to tour with the new band on their label, or there are so many interests to follow, it doesn't matter that you are not the one. So this was my strategy, because they will ask you like two questions. Where did you play? They mean venues and festivals. And they will ask you who did you play with? Because this is how they can check who are you comparable to. So my goal was to get the name, like to play as much as possible with these bands, even like for one or two shows, enough just to like maybe meet them. I knew, we were with Beastie Boys, Queens of the Stone Age, so I knew what we're going. It was hard, but it's not, maybe you connect, if you met their manager on a festival, he will invite you to the tour. So it's not only the band, it's their
sometimes managers asking you.
If you're really good, and they want you to be their supporter, there is a chance actually that some of our bands will end up as so this I would say is on a higher level. Our goal is to put some Czech bands to tour with a bigger band so we can reach the audience.
There is also the option for rich kids, like you have to pay for flight, you know, so you can also do
or you should get drunk with the manager.
So you know the manager you want to talk with, okay.
It's really expensive.
So business to business, B2B, is Dee Dee's using data to see like, hey, we played at these venues. She's using data to send messages to people who haven't listened to the music, don't know who they are, to describe a list of the venues, a list of the acts they supported, and she can merge that in with the data she's getting from YouTube, from Facebook, from social media, from Spotify. She's pulling the whole thing together to create a business-to-business, B2B picture from the data, and she can also do the same with a B2C, business-to-consumer, artist-to-fan picture. Who is my fan? What are they interested in? How do I reach them? The stuff is coming out of live. It's not just there on streaming. When people go to festivals now, like Ziggett, they will have an app. They will download the festival app. They will walk around the festival. At the end of the festival, the app shows how long they stood in front of the stage and watched you for, which track they walked away at, which track there was a big surge. On the map, you'll see a swarm coming to the stage. You look at the time and you go, well, that's when we were playing that. They'll say, like, oh, look, that's unusual. The population of Ziggett on the sales for hot dogs versus veggie burgers is that there's 25% vegetarians and vegans here. But on our fans, people who spent all the time in front of us going to the app, they were 50% vegetarian and vegan. You can convert this data in. I'm giving really arcane, extreme examples, but the baby step of like, we've got lots of fans in Budapest, we don't have many in Krakow. Get over it, like learn that and then go beyond it. You've got the opportunity to do stuff that's never been done before. if acts like the Beatles and Elvis had had access to this sort of information, they might have done even better.
You mentioned Sziget, a live example. We had a show there, and then digital data analytic 1 hour after the show. All the orchard activities were higher than in all year, because this was the main stage.
So by
of
orchard
Sziget.
you mean like the
Digital.
streaming,
Yes.
Spotify, YouTube?
So after an hour after a show, all of the activities went up higher than anything else that year, and this was the consequence of the main stage of Sziget Festival. That means that live will affect the digital in that moment, and also I've learned a good lesson from Kaiser Chiefs. They said festival is a perfect ground to steal audience. To find, not steal, to find new audience, but also he meant steal from another band you're playing with, so it's important. Yeah. So we managed to get to the fan base of 30 Seconds to Mars, because it was the band, unfortunately Amy Winehouse died, they replaced with 30 Seconds to Mars, and somehow these kids waited in the first row for like 3 days probably, and all of the first row became fans. This is what they meant for the new band. So this is a perfect opportunity to get a new fan base, especially like this, and it will affect then your digital fan base.
Sometimes it's good to play with the bands actually with different genres. Actually, it's if you have the same genre, you will have the same public as the audience that they have. But if you are playing in a different genre, there is an opportunity to have other people which will like your music too. It's not often, but
so this slide is saying sort of blow up your perception of what the recording business is. We're just finishing up that thing on do you need a record company? It's like have a conversation with about marketing. Sony, Universal and Warner's are heading that way. It's very interesting with the indie labels who had cool names like Motown, Two Tone, XL. They had a profile that's really been damaged by the shift to digital. In that if you're Universal, you can have enough staff to be across all of these things, or if you're an artist and a manager, you've got all these things going on in your head. As an independent label, how you do all those things becomes really difficult. So I think we're going to go into a massive period of turbulence for indie labels, and self-releasing artists like Chance the Rapper and major labels might have the best of the next few years. Who knows? Pay attention to it, but be really careful where some of you might have grown up with perceptions of cool indie labels. You really need to see if they're across all of this integrated marketing activity. Beggars, the group that Didi mentioned earlier on that owns XL, has a fantastic lady whose job is live. Beggars are a company, a big independent label, who definitely understood this, that they need to be across everything. That's what you need to be across as a manager. Not many labels have the skills or the passion to be across everything. So sort of blow up the old recording industry concepts, keep an eye on the data. The data is the real gold, not just the money that you're going to get, and pull all these things together. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try and come up with what you should have been getting from the last couple of days from us. It's kind of up for grabs. So we'll go into live now. We were talking before about why would you need a record company, when would you, and we didn't really answer it, but Damien gave it away at the beginning, is it depends. So you've got to put all those things together and it depends. With the live industry, is a bit more control over it. Obviously digital, there's unlimited space on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that, but there's only so many super cool big festivals in every country. There's only so many super cool clubs and things like that. Can you guys just unpack very technically with just a brief description of what their jobs are, what the difference is between a promoter and a live agent or a booking agent?
Like promoter is the guy who's local, if you can say so, who's gonna promote your music and put up the show, all the things around. And the live agent is, for example, me or Didi, who's gonna just sell it to the promoter. If you can say the difference, you can say so. I don't know if you want to add something more to it.
People, it used to be before in our area that the venue is actually a promoter as well.
Also
now we are getting on another stage that we actually have a professional promoters, professional venues now. And on
still in European, like as with Eastern European, there are a lot of promoters which are
like
venue owners.
So you can work straight with the venue or with the promoter. When you have like bigger venues, this is now it's better to work with other promoters because of the nature of the job. It's a smaller artists, you usually work directly with venues. And then a booking agent, this is how to say, your own booking agent, same as a manager. This is a partner for you for live part of the work. It used to be, it's also changing, it became most vivid and most vital part of the music, and it used to be more European agencies, and these days London became a center of Europe, let's say, like New York and Los Angeles, so they are becoming, live agencies are also merging together. Also like independent labels, so there are lots of merging of small independent or independent live agencies to a bigger groupation. This is what is the trend now also, but it used to be Berlin, Germany used to be bigger and Holland used to be bigger. Now the market went to the UK, so everybody now wants to have a British agency. Most of the European artists, this is the ultimate goal, is to go on one, to work on the one of the major live agencies, which is very hard because they're not so big as people think.
Yeah.
So on the recording side, the brand is everything, the publishing is sort of underneath, very important. You've got these two areas that you really focused on driving your business, the live and the recording side. On the recording side, it's gone to streaming. We have talked about the bookmarking stuff and the playlist stuff. The playlist stuff, there's big companies, big record companies have massive control of the biggest playlist. It doesn't mean you can't get on there, but it's really hard. What Didi's describing on the live side is the big festivals, the cool clubs, the nights in those clubs, the spaces, the opportunities. Increasingly the big live agencies that book these shows, that sell artists to promoters, are converging and controlling those slots. Do you need a booking agent?
I think yes, in every level you need it actually.
Because your manager will basically, if you don't have a booking agent, your manager will be both.
Yeah.
And then at one point, it's two jobs, you know, they actually fight, these two people. And I always joke that when you're working as a manager and a booking agent, you have to represent two sides of the job. So your conversation looks like you talk with yourself like this, and then you come from the other side. Yeah, but this, you have to, it's too much of the, so this is why you need to, these days, have a booking agent.
What might a booking agent and a manager disagree over?
For example, where you want to play or why you want to play up there, you know, it's like, and with who you're gonna play, because it's obviously can be conflict with the interest for a manager and for a booking agent also.
So we're not really saying the interest of the manager personally. They're not like, I don't want you to earn money.
No, they're partners.
What we set out yesterday when Damien was scribbling on the wall was this marketing strategy. So he's come along as the manager and he's like, I'm going to do this on Spotify, I've got that on social media, I need this happening. Here's the window in the calendar where I want to go to that location. And so he has a strategy, the manager. He rings up the booking agent and she's like, I'd love to put that band on tour with this band on these dates in that market. So she's got a strategy.
Yeah.
But we would, maybe sometimes like, because live agents are earning money through live, and managers, we have like 6 parts of that we have to handle, and then of course that agency wants you to play as much as possible. So like actually it's like a brother-sister relationship with agent and a manager. There is a good example. Adele's brother, Adele's manager is a brother and an agent is a sister. So when they have like it's literally like this. So it's not a fight, that I mean like a real fight, but you have the same interest within your family, and maybe Adele doesn't want to tour. She doesn't want to tour, and the sister comes and say, hey, I have these amazing offers all over the world, they're paying us like millions, and like her manager, her brother, he said, yeah, but we don't want to tour. Or then he comes to I said, I have this offer, so this is the where you discuss what is the best for your kid or a family, like the same conversation. So it's partnership, but you disagree sometimes. This is why it's better to have 2 persons than one being, you know.
Yeah, still, I think in Eastern Europe it's most usual. It's like the booking agents that
Is
also
the
manage.
manager.
Also.
Yeah. This is
So-
why I'm preparing people to have a.
I know. It's,
To work to have
also,
two sides of
it's
your.
good to have tour manager, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, yeah.
roadies, etc.
I used to be also a tour manager, so.
We're coming to tour management. So as a manager,
But still, it's like, you know, at the very beginning you have like one guy who's caring about everything, you know.
as a manager, you have
to
a,
fight with.
Yes.
you're getting the band. Let's say it's a band, might be a solo artist, might be a trio. The band is the board, so there's 4 of them. And as the manager, you're the chief executive officer. You might be a member of the band. You might be the solo artist. We're just the manager and the artist's interests are interlocked. We're assuming that. So you've got a strategy, you've got a vision. You're speaking to a live agent who's really powerful and important. You can decide on the recording side what day you release the stuff. You can take all these decisions based on your strategy. There'll be some other factors that might get you to change it. Whereas on the live side, because there's a limit to the number of stages and the number of dates and the number of slots, you can't be so picky and choosy. So when we asked earlier on, do you need a record company? It was like, not sure. And it seems a bit more with, do you need a booking agent? A bit more like, yeah. And it also seems like there's a lot of work there with a booking agent. What do they do? What's the day-to-day job of a booking agent?
You're waking up and just texting, like typing emails and just calling to the people, ask, like, you know,
Who's the people? These are the promoters.
Also, but sometimes it's like venues. That depends on the artist actually.
What's the difference between a venue and a promoter?
Like, as we said, the venue is a promoter in this case, so you can call them like promoters, but sometimes you have to just.
So
Right,
this
straight
room
to the
here is a venue.
Yeah.
There might be a promoter who might hire this venue off the owner of the venue to promote shows in this room. So the venue and the promoter is slightly interchangeable. Whoever's paying for, whoever's buying the band is the promoter. Sometimes it's the venue, sometimes the promoter is leasing the venue. It
Still,
kind of
like,
doesn't
even
matter.
agencies also, when agencies, there's like all the bunch of, you know, the events you can play on. I don't know, it's like if you are only booking agent, because I'm not only like booking agent.
Let's assume we're just talking
Professionally,
here
I lived
purely
with a
about a
booking
booking
agent. He's like or she both of these top agency.
Yeah.
Basically, they woke up in the morning with thousands of emails. They are not capable to read of the amount because he will type you 10. The other, like he will have so many questions, and then everybody will think they're the most important. Like because then you will get woke up and I have this new band, and why didn't you confirm this festival? Like I need your confirmation now. And then he's like calling manager, like they're yelling at me, please. And then the band is calling, are you coming to our gig tonight? And you ask, where is it? Edinburgh. Oh, I'm in London tonight. Okay, I will try. And this is like top agents work like this. They don't have like 5 minutes. Today it's the most, and we travel the most also. If you're working as a booking agent, you have to go to this festival to check this festival. So I'm not sending my band if I didn't been to like and Marcia del Zora. I need to know where I'm sending my. I need to know like geography. You need to plan activities in front now.
Collection.
It's more and more time. So booking agents and promoters. It used to be 3 months of planning, and now it was 6, and now year, and now year and a half in front.
In front of
Yeah.
In front of the event.
Yeah.
You have to plan activities as a manager with your booking agent, so it becomes more and more long-term, let's say, activity.
Yeah. I know,
Yeah, I just have a very different experience from like if you need a booking agent or not. And I think like in Czech or in Europe, it's not like if you're an emerging artist, you're probably even able to do it by yourself or with a help of a friend, because the good side of that all these people are reachable online. There will be, you go to the venue page, you usually find the contact or email or something, and you can reach out to them by yourself, by somebody who's representing you. It doesn't necessarily need to be an agent, but like I hit a wall when I moved to LA, and I thought I could do the same thing. It doesn't work at doesn't work at all. These numbers are not there. These emails don't exist on the website. So
you know what's the problem? Also, they will not take you seriously. This was my issue. It's
Yeah.
not about. So for me, it doesn't matter if you're like an artist, a promoter, and a manager in the same role, because I or a booking agent. Some of us have multi skills, you know. So but there, if you don't have representation, it's like, what's wrong with you? Where is your manager? So sometimes it's like better even to have somebody just take it with you, even if you're like you are the one. He's like my lawyer, a manager. No, really, for Los Angeles people, and like this, she's right. And she couldn't, like, you come there and you cannot even able to book a gig in a bar because you're not represented. You don't have a representative.
But also the problem is that you don't actually have these contacts. Like you cannot find them online. So all these bookers who are sitting there,
this is why I'll tell you,
this
is the gold mine.
And they don't distribute it to you. That's their own knowledge. That's their own value.
This is our
power. Two jobs. They need to know who everyone is, and they're in the middle. So they're speaking to the artist representative, manager, whoever, they're speaking to the artist, and they're in the middle, speaking on the other side to the promoters, the venues. They're making deals happen. That's their number one thing. They have these contacts, and when they ring the venue up, the promoter will take their call because they're friends, they've been drunk all year, and they put loads of shows on, they made lots of money together. The other thing that they're trying to do is work out the calendar, work out the timings, try and fit in between, as a middleman between the promoter of the venue and the artist. When can we do this show? When can we bring it together? And obviously geography is involved in that timing thing as well.
And but also, if you go to Central Eastern Europe, it's the same actually. It depends on what's the level you're speaking about.
Of course.
As a festival promoter, when we worked for Sziget, because I did Sziget, no band could come to the office, like the locals we managed, but like if someone called, hi, I'm the guitarist of a fantastic French hardcore band. Yeah, it's really great, good, you put it aside and then you have hundreds of other guitarists of that's a reference point. So your goal should be to be picked up by a booking agent, because that's actually at the first day we were speaking about the showcase event. Doesn't matter what the size of the showcase event. If you take your friend who doesn't even know what music is, and you can push him at the screen and say, he is my manager, and speak about my music with him or with her, then you will have immediately first plus, because then you've been taken more seriously.
It's working like this in Czech Republic, because I booked
so we're talking about international
yeah, but also friends from Slovakia and Germany, they said, okay, but it's fine to have a manager, but I had troubles with some managers, so I kicked them out. I said, okay, I will solve it with myself. And I'm talking to people, I'm going with them, I'm on the email with them, and they say, oh, in Czech Republic, oh, but you're talking, that's right. Oh, so you are direct. Oh, that's awesome. We give you everything, and so they are so so happy that they are talking to me. That somebody don't ask that. They
but it depends.
We're talking about ultimate goal, booking agency. So it's for us. We will work as you work, but if you want to be signed on Eurosonic by, let's say, a creative artist agency, like one of the top agencies in the world, then you will need the representation.
It should be a goal. It's one of the goals to have an agency. It doesn't mean that you cannot do the job yourself.
I will give you an example. I will give you an example. For example, Ted Nemeth, who's like small band from Poland, and because I know a lot of people in Poland, so I booked like 20 days tour easily, because I just called them, hey, you're a friend of mine, I can book show in your place. And he said, who's Ted Nemeth? You know, who's the band? Like, nobody knows them. Book them, please, because this is my band. And they will book it, because I know the people. So that's the reason, actually. If you are a small artist, then you can have like representation of you just because of that, just because you know the people, the guy knows the people, so that's the reason that they will book it. That's the same with you in Borówka, the same guy, which is like the guy who booked his shows, even if nobody knows the guy in Poland, they will book the shows because Bartek knows the people. So also that's the point to
We're
have
coming to
your
very
own
important
manager.
part of our workshop, which is very most crucial one.
Yes.
So word of mouth, we mentioned, Jake mentioned it, now you mentioned, word of mouth is one thing, and also trust is another thing. So
Hold
if
that perfectly, let me do a sum up and then go straight into the trust thing. So on the record side and on the live side, on the record side, if you can't get a record label and maybe you didn't want one anyway and you weren't sure, you can get into the market through these distributors. On the live side, if you can't get an agent, and it's really hard to get an agent, it's harder to get an agent than it is to get a publisher, it's harder to get an agent than it is to get a label, it's harder to get an agent than it is to get a manager. The hardest people to get to, because every phone call they make money on roughly. So they're really busy being productive with stuff that they know they can sell. So they're really hard to get to, and there's a limit in the supply. It's just simple economics. This isn't like weird stuff. There's only so many stages, only so many nights in a year, only so many show times. So it's not a monopoly, but there's a limit on the size of the market. So what we're hearing is they're really hard to get. The guys are like, it would be great if you could get an agent, but they're not saying you need to have an agent at all costs. We're hearing that you can do it without them, and you probably put the two things together. They're really hard to get. You need one. You're probably going to end up doing a lot of this yourself. So with Didi's just about to go into trust, think about this as how you're building up towards getting an agent, and that what you're trying to do is how do you develop your live career through booking your own shows. There's a Italian band called Joycut, whose manager, she works in a venue, so she knows a lot about live, certainly more than I do, and more than a lot of other managers. But without an agent, she booked this Italian band into shows in Korea, China, Japan. She's done 100 shows in the United States from Italy, booking them herself or through friends and networks and stuff like that. You can do it, it's really hard, it's very time consuming. Question at the back.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you're working on alternative music or basically on the alternative music scene.
we are alternative music scene.
Okay, so I'm a jazz musician, but I work in various genres, but basically I'm still considered a jazz musician. So if I was ever to book some other project, it would still be considered a jazz project. But never mind, I wanted to ask you something else. How do you get a manager interested in working with you if you're on the alternative music scene when here in Czech Republic, for example, unless it's a festival, you barely get enough money to get paid yourself?
Do you mean a manager or a booking agent?
Yeah,
A booking agent.
Cool.
It depends on, if, for example, for me, if I believe in the band, I will just try to figure out where I can sell it. For example, there's some bands which you will not sell in your domestic market because there is no one who wants to book it. So you will try to book it outside of Poland. But still, there's some bands which is good for domestic market. So you will focus on domestic market and you will try to sell it. But the first thing is like how you want to interest the guy. Like for sure to put effort to do nice branding that I was talking about yesterday, that that the all stuff around the graphic design and stuff, etc., etc. And then when I will get it with good music involved in it, then I will at least read it and at least I will check the music. And if music will be fine, maybe I will think about to book your stuff and to be your manager or booking manager in this case. So that's how it works, actually.
Cloud of activity, as Damien's describing. It's what are you doing on YouTube, what's the word of mouth, what's the media, what's the press, and then Didi's going to throw us into this other thing, the trust side.
Yeah.
I would just mention now these days, because I said agencies are growing, they're becoming bigger. Now they are starting to act as labeled before. They have their own talent searchers, let's say like this. So they're actively now going to showcase events. It's their business plan, and searching for new artists. So I was even the one who are smart and progressive. They actually don't care if you're from Czech Republic, and this is now our time is coming actually, because I know these boys, they're now going with me to check our bands, because they didn't know anybody they could trust before they start coming again on this. Today, and Jake had a phone, so this is the still email, social network is nothing. If you don't have somebody's personal phone, that means you're not, this is not a contact, like, and you cannot reach them. Also, it's very important, all of these people, I will tell you, like one of the main persons of Glastonbury, he always says, oh, what did you did today? 2 hours I was just erasing my emails. Really, can you imagine 2 hours deleting the emails, because the amount, it's millions of emails you receive. If you're like on the topest level, he cannot go through this. We are not computers, this is not, and you sit at home and you think, I sent this guy an email, why is he not responding? Oh, I'm not good enough, or I will like, this is not how it works. Like he is somewhere on the festival, he exists, and if somebody will approach to him and say, hey, listen, I have this amazing artist from Slovenia, and he will say, okay, let me hear it. But this is why we come to this trust. So the question will be of you, yeah, but we're here in Czech Republic and we don't have anything. And I have the same. I was like a kid in Croatia. Luckily, I knew like a band that were already successful before Dado and the guys, so I had somebody like. But then in that point, they needed me as well with the international contest. I didn't have nothing. The same story as you mentioned, Katja and Joykat from Italy. We didn't know each other. We share the same story. You're sitting there and you don't have nothing. No money, no label, no booking agent, no PR, nothing. And then you go, okay, let's go. And then I went with the band in I only missed one TV show of all of the performances. I always went on the festivals, and then we came to Berlin, and then Daddy said, oh, let's go, there is a Czech and a Hungarian people, they're having a stall together on Popcorn, like this event. And then I met Martin and Monica, we all met there, it was 12 years ago, I think, and all of us have the same, we don't know nobody, we're like, we're just like we're going around. And then we met with them, and then he had a cool idea, Martin, so he's one of the main, people don't know it, this is what I'm saying, and they had Hungarians this idea, they had export office, one of the first ones. Let's do the regional event, regional conference for us, like just to know. And we met 2007, all of us for the first time in Budapest from Poland. Delegation was huge, I remember, us from Croatia. So he gathered all of us together. So we met. And some foreigners came as well, and we met them. And the most successful of us there, it wasn't many of us, 5 of us probably from the old event, from ex-Yugoslavia I'm talking, we actually made the contacts on this. We used one opportunity to meet each other, and then you start meeting others. Katja went with her band everywhere, to Japan, to China. She's a nice person, we love her, where she comes, this is how you meet your...
Katja's a nice person, Didi's a nice person, Damien's alright. This is the thing, as a guest, you're a guest, you've played a venue, you're a band, be nice. Clean the place up when you leave, say thank you to the person on the door, because in small club venues, the person on the door is best mates with the booker, or might even be the booker. Be nice to everyone, do the washing up before you leave. Build up a personality, a profile of you, of like when they've got a choice, hey, there's this weird band from Prague, oh, they're really nice guys.
No, now, some of you I know, I come here like for years, so everybody was, oh, we have a new this band or event, this is what the trust I'm talking, so the information is going faster, and we don't need this than other stuff among us. Because it's too much of the woods in the internet, we need some filters, and now we are becoming these filters. How to see? So this is not when people usually in my area say, no, this is impossible, and I just like, yeah. If we listen to you, like we wouldn't do nothing. It's not impossible. It's very hard. This is the first thing. You have to invest in yourself. If I spend the amount of energy, money, and everything in some other career, oof. Like you cannot, but this is the passion also, like it's and you started.
So a really clear thing coming through as well from Didi is about Like, at the point where you can't get an agent in London who's controlling all these German festivals, what's happening in Romania? What's happening in Croatia? Develop, build a network. You're right next to Poland, and you've got Ziget Festival down the road that has 30,000 tons.
450 something.
Yeah. They have loads of people from across Europe going there, and you can reach a bigger audience. So develop stuff, build trust locally, build your networks locally, start to make connections. If you're lucky enough to go as the artist, or you know, if you're going to a conference, don't just go there to play if you're the artist, go there as the manager and go and net.
Also because you asked, or the guy with that, no, you asked about like how you can interest the manager. Actually, your first manager can be a friend of yours. You know.
I have some trust issues on that front.
Why so? But like.
I don't know. I like to have my stuff neat. Like I don't know.
So you know you need to trust somebody. You know.
You need to find a neat
person. It
person.
goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's quite important.
Yeah.
Your manager has to trust you.
Yeah.
Because that's what you play, but he has to, if he's a good manager, he has to go to every single possibility and take all the minutes in order to move you from one step to the other. It's something no one will pay for you as a manager when you're doing the job. Most of the managers, especially in these countries, that's why actually everyone who's involved are at some point crazy or nuts or being a music addict. So and that's how it starts. Use all the single opportunity, no matter if you're a musician manager, to go to network, to meet people, to be kind. You have to actually communicate. If you're in music, you're actually cursed to completely and continuously communicate.
And you're too young not to trust people.
Yeah, but the thing is, actually, there's a band which is really huge right now because they are legends in Poland. But the first manager was her friend. Actually, they're a groupie, so they start to work with their groupie just to book the shows, and then she started to work with the Universal. Now she's like R&R in Universal, one of the most respected person in the music industry in Poland, and they start with the groupie actually. So the thing is, honestly,
that's the same. That's started with a friend of the band.
Of course, and always you can change manager after all, because maybe in some point it's gonna be like the guy cannot afford the things you needed on the level.
Even better, if you have like a fake manager or a friend manager, you can say, oh, I got too busy with my career, like I have to change another level, you know?
Kind of.
So use it in your advantage. But no, if you're like, I know what you mean. You're like, you said neat. Neat is a good word when you express. Not many of the musicians or managers are neat in general. Yeah. So it's maybe 15%, not even 10% of us. So you have to find a similar person as you.
Yeah.
But I also...
It's the same like with the girls.
I kind of can relate to that as well. Like if you're that type of like a control freak, you know, like other people can really fuck it up for you.
I know.
I think I kind of did it in a bit
It's the
way.
same with artists. They can like ruin your career as well.
But I think you can like still find a friend and kind of like train him in a way.
Yes.
And you can be in control for a certain time. And then until that person is kind of professional in what he's doing, you can let it go more.
Yeah. You also have to work in the both sides. It's like you are controlling manager and manager controls you.
Well,
that's how it works. In other ways, you know.
Is there another way that then just spend non-endless time to trying people and wait for the right one? Because it's not, hey, what did you for the band last week? Oh,
we are now
to
psychology.
I've got new video games, so I'm a paladin level 23.
Yeah, I know what you mean actually, because we discussed about it actually yesterday. So I will go to this on this topic. It's like, you know, you can always have this problem like with finding right person to be your manager, but at least You need to try somehow on some level if you want to have your goals, you know, achieved step by step, higher and higher. Because on some level, without a manager, you will not go like on the next level without a manager. So you need to have a manager at least when
you can learn it, but then you can kill yourself because my head is too big like this.
Yeah, and you're a musician, so you cannot do it all.
I needed to learn everything, and I do the progress, but it's slower than with somebody.
I think in this point it would be sometimes useful to ask the managers what they expect from the artist, what they need, because a lot of them they totally don't know. Yeah.
It depends. Also, it depends on the artist what they want, but also what the goal they want to achieve. Because some artists they want to just play for a beer, you know.
Yeah.
And if they want, then I will not be interested, you know. Yeah, then I will not be interested to do that.
We're going to go into the strategy and the role of the manager and pulling all this together. To pick up on that point about like what level's the manager at. A lot of artists are like, well, I'm this, and they have no real audience, they have no real shows or anything, and you're just a little manager. They see themselves at this big level because they realise how good their music is. The manager is only going to spend time with them because the manager sees them at that level as well. And then sometimes the artist is like, yeah, but who are you? Trust somebody, develop with them, and then the really important thing is, at the point where you think that manager is underperforming, or you think that a bigger manager from a neighbouring country or something could help you out and that this person is now holding you back, talk to them. Say to them, hey, I really love what you've done on live, I can't believe all these shows that are out there, but I don't think we've got an amazing thing going with the record labels. Can we talk to some other people about bringing those skills in? How are you going with all the time? We're not making any money yet, we're getting all this buzz, none of us want to stop right now. Communicate all the time. It's very hard to do. Going back to this vision of the 4-piece band, it doesn't matter how many of you are in the band, and the manager sat around the table, the manager's job, one of the jobs is to explain to the team what they've done. The band should be saying, this is where we see ourselves. The manager should give them a reality check. Yeah. You're not that good live, we're seeing great stuff on Spotify, let's invest a bit more money in the studio and then figure out with loads more rehearsals and low-key shows, etc. So you set the strategy together, but you have to be really clear as the manager that the band understands it. Write notes down through the meeting, send them the notes. Keep a log as the manager, even if you're one of the band, of just summarise the activity. You're doing so much stuff, just like, hey, tried to book some shows today, checked out some data on YouTube. Just bang it through every day, put it into a Slack channel or a Word doc or something. The artist will never understand how much work and investment the manager has put in, and the artist will never see the manager as something as solid as a record label or a publishing company or a booking agent. But what we've heard yesterday about building up this brand, the manager is the person who's going to fight for you. So at the point where you're not that sure what's going on with them or you think they need help, talk to them about that and try and develop that side of it.
I think it's also like probably good. I mean, it's great to hear about all this, you know, great management and like agencies and stuff, but we are in the Czech Republic and I don't even know if there are, you know, or at least I don't know about any cool managers.
You're a manager.
Yeah, we're developing you as a manager.
Well, yeah, but like if you want to unload that, you know.
Sure. So
find a person to go to.
So find someone who's smart like you, who's passionate like you.
The girl out there,
okay,
she's not here, she left. She asked me outside how do I became a music manager, how do I meet the artists.
And we have no education here for that.
And I said, yeah, let's, if you're out tonight, yeah. And she was like here and you were here and both of you are searching for somebody, you know, like, and so this is already something, but this is what I want to say is, you're right, most of you are not, you are self-managers, we discovered here, and you will be your own managers. I will tell you, for the ones who are already managers, what we made, I'm sure you will agree with it. My mistake as being as a manager, I had too much workload. I was not reporting everything to the band, and Jake was right. The band cannot see because the like bass player was a kid, 20 years old, like with his life problems. Like he cannot see all of this, but he couldn't even understand. Like he doesn't even know English. Let's be like so. So let alone all of this. So like this person will not, how to say, couldn't understand, and this is what a good manager should do. Log in what they are doing, because the band would not. And also you had a good question. Also it's not about, I told you yesterday from the artist, my first question would be, if we talk about working together, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like what do you want and what do you want from me? So I have to have you, the first input comes from you, and then I can tell you, when you give me like something, inspiration, I can tell you what I can do with it.
Yes,
so I'm first, you are the first part. I don't like the manager who thinks I'm the first. No.
Yeah.
We don't work. We wouldn't be
Yeah.
here without you. And this is the first. It's the artist and then manager. This is why you can be self-managed, and I cannot like.
You
I
are
have to
hiring
be.
us actually. You are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
I cannot have. I could book Didi on main stage of Siget, but I don't play an instrument. So it's not about the I mean somebody who can pull it off. I need you if I want to be on the main stage of Siget.
Yes.
I can just dance like.
What if you have the level that? But if you have the level that you manage all alone, you're doing pretty well, and you need another step, like you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm going to okay. This you have to know what to do. You have to know what you want. You have to have the promotion materials, everything.
Yeah.
I have everything. I'm ready. I come to you because it's my only chance to how to move another step. And you say, yeah, that's cool. That's it's also yeah, but I'm busy. So
that's the reason.
Yes.
So you need to educate the other generation of
your manager
guys.
or yourself
Okay.
to join the Czech Music Managers Forum, which is developing, and Martin will be able to keep you in the loop with that over the next few months as that crystallises. And then you say to your manager, hey, what's the plan? What are we doing? What's going on? Didi's point, the manager came to you and said, where do you want to be? And then the manager digested that and was like, okay, this is what's possible. We're going to really struggle to get an agent. We're going to put your stuff up on TuneCore's Trade Away. You need to go back in the studio and get me more bonus content. This stuff's not working because it's not firing on the data says it's not working, and I've showed it to a few tastemakers. So you build up a plan as an agreement between the two of you. But the point where you're like, my manager's not developed enough, you need to develop the infrastructure within this community for yourself, because you need to be able to get a stronger presence going in this market, in your home market, your domestic market, which is the one that's going to sustain you as an old person. When you have this one hit in Germany, you're like, I'm dumping my manager, I'm off to Germany, I'm famous, and then that collapses and you're back here, and everyone's like, oh yeah, and your manager's been working really hard and learnt a lot and is now very productive doing other things. You don't let go of the community that you guys are building here. So if your manager doesn't have the capacity, talk to them, see if there's other managers that have other skills that are complementary that they could work with together on you. See if there's managers in another network. But it's absolutely essential that you don't go to your manager and say, hey, I found Didi, you need to work with her. You say to your manager, I think we're lacking a bit in this area, we had the plan, that's not working. Would you consider you, the manager, going and finding a partner that you could work with that would help that? And then the manager can come back to you and say, yeah, you know what, I've found this amazing person in Croatia who I really we're compatible with, we can work together. You don't want to drop the manager that sort of knows your stuff inside out and has learned stuff. I'm not saying never drop a manager, but I'm saying don't drop a manager because you think the stuff's getting beyond them. This stuff is not rocket science. We've covered here today what you need to do at a basic level and at a superstar level. A lot of it's about time management. When the money starts coming in, the manager can find more time because they can pay more admin staff and things like that. So don't think that their growth is limited by their capacity to understand it. When you've done shows and festivals at a small level, it's pretty similar. It's a bit easier sometimes at big level.
But still, like what you ask for is, the first step you have to do in Czech Republic, and I think it's the good step to have this music manager forum here, because you need to actually educate the people, the next generation of managers you can have, but you will not educate them by, you know, by doing stuff yourself, but probably you need to educate somehow your manager who's going to care about your music after. If you will not do
stuff to add there actually is exactly that. Bring your friend close to and ask him to start to be your manager, because the thing is that there are not many managers, so very few here.
Yeah.
So what you have to do as a next step is to bring someone to start working, and it's simply and strictly on the personal trust.
Yeah, but if I'm so busy that I lost my time to you know, teach anybody.
Yeah, but that's your investment. That's exactly your personal investment, because you think I'm busy now.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how busy you will be when some things start really to work.
When you
so you really have to put your investment in a year or 2 years. Someone who went to several workshops like
still,
this one.
If you making big gigs already, and you are scared that the young guy will mess it up for you.
Yeah.
But
it can be,
trust.
You know,
I can imagine your assistant, you know.
Listen, like the
22 years
biggest
old.
example, he came, Madonna took him when he was 70 years old. Guy Osiri, today manager of Madonna and U2. He is owner of Airbnb. Like, he became one of the top, not music managers, business managers in the world. He was with her, so she did like this. My manager is too old. She shared the manager with Michael Jackson. She saw it better than Michael Jackson, because where is Madonna now and where is Michael Jackson now? So who made a better choice? So she was like, she saw this, and she knew one thing, like young, Jewish, cute, 17 years old. Come with us, boy, and now this is the way. Take somebody, give him a roadie job, or I don't know, some technician, merchandise guy, just to learn. People learn from experience.
I'm so scared to give him the competence, you know.
We have like big gig for at the first you don't have.
But he will carry on.
I'm going to cut across that because we're running out of time. But if a business expert, we talked about the export of putting car companies into Korea. If a business expert, if you were talking about you had a hotel company or something like that, what they would hear you saying is, I've built my business to this level and I'm running at full capacity, but I won't let anyone help me. They'd be like, okay, goodbye.
I know what scares you. He
hard.
said one word. It's too slow for us. This is what you have to understand. And this is what you spend so much time. This is what I said. In UK, 2 years. Europe, 5. Us Slavic people, 15. So it's like for 15 years to stay enthusiastic, fresh. This is not normal. So okay. So the sooner you accept this is we are not working in normal conditions. We cannot complain otherwise. My first South by Southwest. Any of the bands who will go or artist managers go to South by Southwest, this is the worst. I said the moment we were going on a plane, we were already so tired because we went through hell to come there. And these other bands from France and I don't know, Canada, they came like this with their management export offices. We were like dying. We were just dying to get there, selling everything what we have for tickets, waiting for visas. We had to cancel 3 dates in Canada because of American administration. So after this, when they start to work, we're already we're old people. We're emotional cripples by the time we come to South by Southwest. But it's like this, we will not be able to change. So the best part of my life was when I accepted the fact, fuck, I'm Croatian, I'm a woman, I'm not gay, I'm not Jewish, I'm poor. With all of this, so no chance. No, I have no chance. We don't have chances, so, you know. We had Olympics recently. Your guys, some of your stories that I saw were amazing. Some of our creation story was amazing. This is what I compare our lunacy with actually sport people and trainers. This is more compatible than Western management. We have to be crazy enough to believe in yourself, but two of us, you're trainer and you're like a sportman and you're trainer. So you have to be totally crazy and say, yeah, let's go there and we will win the gold.
Yeah, but actually that example is quite good. I'm a swimming trainer, to be honest. I learned. I used to be a swimmer, and the way how do you train yourself, and that would actually help you. You don't train with your aim distance. You don't train with this. If you find someone, give him a small job. Let's give him to communicate just on Twitter or just on Facebook.
Just sending
and
offers
just
even.
open the door that, oh, if you did it, then come up with some other ideas. Maybe it could work on some other place. So you still didn't give the role over. So, but it's like, it's a step. You will reach a time, a moment, like a tipping point when you really gave a lot of trust and responsibility over. But at that time, and it's really up to you how long time it takes. It's really up to you how you choose your steps when someone would prove their reliability. And that's exactly how, if you run a club, we run a club, the best glass collectors, like guys from the bars, became the monitor engineer, then he became like the stage manager, then a roadie, and then so. This business is not a lexicon business. It's like everyone learned. You can ask around how you started. I started like a cloakroom, bar, record store, and doing all this the meantime.
And I will tell you one thing, my question is...
started like cleaning toilets. Like,
and we're coming to trust. These days, like anybody can work in music industry, and I need to know your background. So I will not ask directly, like, I'm like a proper honest person. This is not how I ask this question. How did you start? What is your road? So one of the top agents in William Morris, he started as a roadie for Nirvana. He's now agent for Foo Fighters.
I
Check the connection.
Everyone, everyone started somewhere actually.
Not all of them, but they're 50% of the people, they earned their way like us from nothing, and they will be the one day who will be your booking agent because they will recognize this in you.
Okay, I hire manager. What is the next step? What
You are a
hide. Like
you hire. So you've got to work out what's the plan.
Yes.
And then you're going to realise kind of what people have been riffing around is that it's not going to go smoothly. You're going to learn stuff on the journey when things go wrong, not just from, and as Martin was saying with the swimming example, it's like you're going to set a long-term strategy. This is where we want to be in 18 months' time, and this is where we see ourselves in 5 years' time. But then expect to do things in a small basis. Okay, in order to get to that point in 5 years' time, what do we have to do in the next 2 months? And what Didi mentioned earlier on, that some of the show times you've got to book like way in advance, like 6 months or longer. So some things you're booking really far in advance, and some things you're just figuring out on a day-to-day basis. So do find points where you can check in on the journey. Have we got to where we're going? But do be really conscious that it's not going to go exactly to plan, far from it. The reason you're making the plan is really just so you've got something to work around, with Martin's point about you just doing small incremental steps, but you know you're going in the right direction. What you're trying to do with the plan that you made up, you're like, what are we trying to do? Is some of it will be for live, some of it will be for recordings. You've got goals across all of these things, these 4 areas that we keep putting together: recording, live, publishing, brand. You should have a plan on all of them, and they should all knit together.
Okay, if this I have already, what's the next step? For example, I will speak. Role for manager will be call all clubs, call all festivals. This practically this. If you have everything this, and we can promote me. What's the next?
So you have to start doing the stuff that's in the plan, and some of it will go wrong, and some of it's small steps, and some of
Which type of the artist are you working with? What is the type of the artist you're working with?
No, she wanna hire a manager.
For example, I have my own CD, Instagram,
so she wanna hire
next step.
manager, and what's the step next? I think
So this is actually, you should turn to the other side of the room, and yeah, maybe because this is what we are trying to develop. We don't have managers in our countries, not enough.
Yeah.
Peter is here, Vojta. Maybe you can take the voice for a drink.
Pusha doesn't have time already.
He's going to Holland tonight with his band. So he's like a good manager.
I have two questions, kind of related. First, you were talking about the roles of the various people. You have the promoter, you have the booking agent, you have the manager. As a person working in the minority genre, it's pretty important to get funding, perhaps from the state, etc. Which of these people should be the one applying for the funding?
Most.
Manager and artist
For me,
together.
that's one of the most difficult things that I probably wouldn't be able to do myself.
I just applied today, actually, at Ministry of Culture.
How much did you ask?
And I'm the manager. How much did I ask is not important, but
Nice one.
I asked. You know, yeah, I think it's the manager's work now.
With that, it might be that the manager might be like, I don't have much experience of that, I'm a tour manager. It might be a friend who you bring in, who you explain, the manager sits with them, and let's pretend that in your case you might be the manager yourself. Whoever it is, you're the manager. You're sitting with this person and saying, hey, here's my plan, here's the funding criteria. So it might be a friend that you bring in just to do that one thing, to convert the plan into the funding application. So it doesn't have to be a job that someone within the team does. If the manager outsources it, that might be a good thing because they might think someone else has got the skills, the language for it.
Well, but I don't know if you were yesterday, you said you're coming from jazz scene. Actually, you're a lucky one because your jazz scene is like alternative scene. You have so many, they're connected in the world more than, like, say, rock or pop scene. So you can actually find places because they have budget in some countries. They have huge budgets for jazz scene. They have money to. Which one?
Not in this one.
Oh, yeah. there's a grant for jazz.
No, trust me. Experimental jazz, improvisation. Like, there are countries with huge budgets, like they want you to be different and experimental for them. So you have a ways, like in your jazz scene, actually to not even, you won't need Ministry of Culture because, like, some of the festivals, they have real jazz festival, they have really good budgets, they can fly you in and yeah. So you do your research because you probably have more chance than half of the people here.
And also, like, from a different perspective, we are so lucky here in Europe and in the Czech Republic that we do have this opportunity of grants and funding. We don't even realize that, but it doesn't exist in the US. It's dead. There's no way that somebody would help you as an artist or to a musician. There's no funding for artists or for clubs or venues. So the venues won't pay you because they don't have a budget for that. Yeah. You pay for free. You bring your own cables. There's no sound guy. That's the situation, and we have this great opportunity. And also, like, I don't think that you need an agent or booker or management to do that for you if you're skilled and you're good in writing. You can totally do it by yourself, or just pair with somebody who is a grant writer and let him, like, help you out for a little bit. But you can totally do it by yourself. I have done it, like.
What we're looking at with grant applications is also with grant deadlines and things like that. So that's stuff I put down as administrivia. The small little details that when you've got this grand plan of, hey, we're going to get in 18 months' time, we'll do this pitch to the Glastonbury Festival, and here's how we're going to get there. And then you're all out there doing all the cool stuff, and like, I'm like hassling Damien, hey, can you help me out with the video? I'm ringing Dee Dee up and saying, can you put us on in the best club in Berlin? Little things get missed out. You've really got to pay attention. Oh, the grant deadline's gone. We didn't submit. We didn't redraw stuff with OSA. We didn't put the ISRC on. Somebody, it is the manager's job, and all the time talking about the manager, I'm assuming that the manager is the artist, generally. It's somebody's job. Like, you've got to figure out who's doing that. And as the manager, you might not have time to do all of it because you might be out there hustling and working the hell out. So it's really good if one of the band can help out, because it's early stages and everyone's really
sometimes
busy?
you can put your stuff to the band members actually. For example, if you're a small band, you can also share the things with your band. Like for example, somebody's gonna do the T-shirt for your band. Also, that's how it works. Sometimes if you are only like manager who's dealing with everything in your band, you know, sometimes doesn't work also. But you know, then you're just sharing your competence with the band also. They can be part of it.
And also, like Didi said, that it's good to speak with the band what you are doing. It's good because sometimes they have some ideas which you don't have because you are overloaded and stuff. So sometimes it's coming something from the guitar player, or yeah. So which is good.
But this is brainstorming. Like this is the best way. Well, like. We're not the smartest, we're like limited brains. And like, so this is crucial, like to meet up. It shouldn't be long, just to update, also to keep it also in continuity. We have these problems, like people don't see each other for 2-3 weeks for different reasons, job, work, children, stuff, and then we come to this, it's too slow. For me, all the process of my career was too slow. But this is not because of me, it's about the consequence where I come from. But we cannot change this. This is
But also basic about like talking with the band is also telling them sometimes that their idea is, for example, stupid, you know. And yeah, and sometimes you have to do that. And if you have a manager and you are not an artist and manager, that's the point also to have a manager, because sometimes somebody from the back can tell you, no, dude, don't do this. It's so stupid, you know. And that's also the point, to have somebody who will tell you that your ideas are bad.
It's often, no?
Yes, it is. It is, but
more often than.
But you know, sometimes it's better to tell the guy or somebody else to just don't do it.
There is a reason why they say at one point of your career the manager will be the only one who will say no to you.
Yeah.
Because if you succeed, it's not real success or fame. It's not real, doesn't exist. And your manager will be the one who will be more like, he will have to keep it real, and he will be the one saying no. And I always joke, first we say yes so many times, the yeses are well, and then we go into the no. So it's like, and this is why each artist at one point actually need a manager, because it's not.
Yes, but some don't manage it.
Hmm?
Some artists don't manage it.
Yeah.
I used to work in financial futures, so I used to trade American dollars held in Europe in Deutschmarks, and the price of the interest rate on them in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, in 9 months' time, in 12 months' time. I used to do the far red months, which meant I'd do stuff in 18 months or 24 months' time. So if a big company was going to build a steel bridge in Germany, and they were going to pay for it by buying Chinese steel and pay for that in US dollars, and they were going to do that in 18 months' time, they'd want to borrow the dollars in 18 months' time, I would help to set an interest rate for them, and I would sometimes sell the interest rate and I would sometimes buy it. I never went to a party where anyone would tell me, oh, you shouldn't do that, you should have sold them, not bought them, or oh, this is right, or you're not doing a good job. Everyone was like, oh shit. As an artist manager, every person I meet tells me, oh, that's not the best single, or hey, the singer should cut his hair. Oh, she's all right, but she's singing flat. Everyone's got an opinion. So as an artist, as a manager, you have the worst job in the world. We know with football that people will be like, the manager's an arsehole, he should have taken we lost because of the manager. The same happens with the artist. We lost, we didn't get signed. Whose fault is it? So mum is there with the band saying like, hey, you did really well, I can't believe you're better than all the stuff on the radio. Dad walks in, he's like, why are you not headlining the stadium? You're the best band in the world. Everyone's got an opinion. None of them know what they're talking about. It's really hard as managers to do that job because everyone's got an opinion on it. And as we've been seeing for the last couple of days, it's really complicated. You're spinning all these plates, you're aware of all these things, you're being nice, you're building up trust, you're communicating, you're an ambassador for a brand, and you're having to cover all these four really complicated areas. Anyone else in the music industry is they're just working in recording, or they're in live, or doing a bit in brand stuff, or they're in live. The manager is overseeing the whole thing. You've got to really build a team around you as a manager. You've got to have that strategy, that plan, that vision, but you've got to pay attention to the small stuff as well, the administrivia. Finance we haven't really touched on. We had a bit on the grants and things like that, and we said that maybe a publisher or a label would give you an advance, but we weren't holding out much hope on that. So we haven't really gone there. That's a whole epic topic on itself. The plan is going to go wrong. Things are going to change, and don't let that put you off. We learned that publishing is called publishing because it used to be printing presses and stuff like that, and we understand broadly what publishing is. We talked about brand. We know that the brand is not only the artist's face on a t-shirt, it's also working with a third-party brand like a Coca-Cola or something. We've looked at live that can go up to a massive scale, but also is about a really intimate performance. It's about pulling people in at the early stage. Don't just sit there thinking about stadiums, think about small clubs, small shows. Get something real going. We've talked about recording industry and how that's changed. It's no longer about selling CDs. We have this sort of cloud of content and communication that you're trying to put out over a period of time. So we sort of understand these sectors, and then we're also thinking about brands that you could partner with and the way that other people are selling and promoting stuff. So it's really cold and horrible to say to an artist, I'm your manager, I see you as a product and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that I belittle or don't understand the creative value of your content. If I wasn't into the creative stuff, I'd be working in the financial futures market, making real money. I'm into the creative side, but as your business advisor, I'm thinking about all this stuff in a sort of commercial world. The key to all this, as we kept hearing yesterday, is the artist brand. We heard about Laibach. We've got a really strong brand. There's loads of other artists who have built all their own identities. It doesn't matter if you're Nicki Minaj or Stromae, Lake Malawi, it doesn't matter what you are, you've got to have an identity, you've got to understand that and focus it. You need to know what your story is, the site, what do you guys look like. Nicki Minaj has got a style. It's not just like some epic photograph or artwork or a sleeve, it's also her style. So the site and the style are different, and then of course it's about the sound. Taylor Swift's probably the best artist in recent years for projecting her brand, her authenticity. She's so different from like a Laibach or something like that that's cool and edgy. So it's hard sometimes to think of her having a brand, but on her last album, she changed identity, she changed direction. Keep an eye on her and people like her. Someone like the Sex Pistols, it's really easy to describe what their brand was, what their lifestyle was, what their story was, but it's in there with Taylor Swift as well. Really great brands mean something to the consumer that goes way beyond the music. It's not just the sound. So keep hitting this thing home. The stuff that Damien was scribbling about yesterday, it really comes together and it means something. There's some really iconic bands that their identities of these artists almost becomes more than any individual track that they've had. Sia's a really great example of a low budget, cheap way of coming up with a really spectacular brand. So you've got to experiment and be creative. The key to all this is why you guys get in working with Ted Nemeth is the heart, isn't it? Is the emotional contact. So I've touched on the business side, but maybe you guys could just talk about why some of the artists that you've worked with, why you worked with them.
It's just because you feel the artist. That's that kind of feeling that you have. I don't know. I'm, for example, I'm friend with the band I work with. I can imagine to work out just with the band as, you know, doing my job. I did that before. I did some kind of bands like this, but then you don't feel like you're selling a band, but you're selling only a product which you want to sell. And it's maybe easy with the selling because it's, as you said before, it's not rocket science to sell the band even if you're a manager, but like you don't feel it well with that. You just, you know, you're just a seller, you're not the manager.
CD, you're a very passionate person.
Yeah, but I'm just you would be surprised now with my answer. Actually, I worked from this was the reason the heart, but because I actually believe in the band, I didn't believe in a personal relationship, which is weird in our territory. First friends, then business. My singer was one of the worst people alive I ever met. Yeah, but still I was like for him, professionally I would die. So it wasn't about friendship.
No, I did friendship after.
I will tell you, I'll be honest, they were better than anything that we had in Croatia. They were the unique first one, and this is like history. So this was like to be unique and original for me was more important than the guy is like the most selfish person alive.
Of course, but still,
no, a person is like compliment.
Still, like for example, I started working with Ted Nemeth, for example, but not only with them, but most of the bands that I work with or I used to work, it was like at the first I didn't like them at all. Like I didn't like their music. And for example, when I was started to work with Apostate from Czech Republic, they've sent me a year ago a material which was like, that's shit, that's everyone play like this. And when I saw them live, because I was driving them to Slovakia, and then I saw them, it was like 400 people in the front of the stage, and how they performed their music, it was like, whoa, this band is really good. And when we get way back from Czech Republic, from Slovakia to Czech Republic, I asked them in the van that maybe you're looking for a manager because it's really good. So that's how we started to work. The Ted Nemeth was the same. Like they sent it to me in the CD, and I was like, doesn't work at all. After a few months, I get back to the CD, and I was like, okay, that sounds really good. So let's try to do that. And that's quite funny, but it's always in my experience, it's always like I don't like this band, and before I didn't like it, then more I like it. I don't know how it works, but that's how it works in my experience.
Yeah, but still, this is why it's a good manager. If you met me then, I would say he's like the best person. Like he's so cute. Look at him. Like you have to see them live. Like so, this is a band. You even live for your band. You're like a family. This is what they say.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if the reason is professional or friendship. It has to be some other connection. And also, I wanted to tell you one thing. Otherwise, I will forget. The hardest thing for artists and managers in our area, as Jake said, everybody has an opinion of you. Like you know what? Like Czech people are Croatian watching football and they go to the player. Oh no, you should do everybody in front of TV. Everybody is commenting. It's the same. And then for us, it's very important to listen to the audience, the heart of the audience, and what they are saying. But also, you cannot allow press, audience, media, social commentary to influence your art and your creative vision, strategy with your managers. So the most important thing is actually balance. Balance between listening, taking others' opinion, and staying how to say, with yourself and your original vision. Because the way is so that you can lose yourself on the way very easily. And this is what you have to with your manager, or you have to keep this part. And each time when you think why I'm doing this, remember why you started it. And it doesn't matter what they think. If you feel good while you're creating this music, this is why you started, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, you know, even if it's, but it's still, you have to listen to them. So this would be, for one of the in psychology of our job, this is the hardest.
I think I would add on that it's good to choose the people you're listening to, because from my experience, I listened to everybody's opinion. And then I got kind of like confused and also hurt a lot. Like 10 years ago when I released my first album, so that was like a hard thing, and I was not ready for that. And I felt super vulnerable, like you are giving birth to a kid. It's like your little baby. And
you're
so, like,
this
kid looks awful. It's like, what? So like during the time I realized that it's really good to have few people you trust their opinion, and whatever you do, you just send it over to them. And that's like makes your vision pretty clear, because everybody else can have different opinions, as you said, and it can really bump you out. And like,
but also you should keep it in mind that you might create a social bubble for yourself, and you can get not entirely correct feedback. So you should be open, you know, to different inputs as well.
But to a limit.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like, be open to everyone.
It's like you're.
It could kill you.
Yes, that's the point, because and for instance, for me, I'm interested in opinion on one hand. On the other hand, if it's about vision, I don't give a shit. That's how you can think. You bring in all the comments, and you can use lots of comments, and you think about it, because in many cases, just the terminology might not be correct. Maybe they're only pointing out something that could help you beneficially. So it's not that I don't give a shit, it doesn't mean that I don't care, it means that it doesn't hurt my emotions. I take it as an information. And you filter the information. If you get always information from people who are following you, that's a social bubble, and it can really bring you to somewhere that might not be correct on a bigger, you know, on a different level.
Yeah, but also
the question is where you want to go again. If you want to grow, or if you want to stay in that area which feels still comfortable.
But also I think as an artist also you probably are way much more emotional about a thing than you from your perspective. And I wish I could act as a robot sometimes.
I played as well for ages actually.
Yeah,
but we had lots of sheets, plus, minus, negative, positive. You constantly get that. And to be honest, for instance, for me, it was even worse to get positive feedbacks. In many cases, that was the thing I couldn't do. I couldn't deal with, like, oh, it was great, yeah, good. And with the ones who came like, oh, that was shit, I was like, yeah, actually, he was playing shit. We were out of tempo. The visuals were not in sync. So that you can, I could put it in, but you can really use it. It's like kind of an ego, you know, you have to deal with the ego structure of this, and how you look at yourself as an artist or as a product as well, and that's, again, brings a different discussion.
Yeah, again, it's about balancing the stuff, but I agree with Martin, what we are seeing in politics. Here, the good example, this is a social bubble. What's happening in Europe now, we are living in this social bubble where everybody comes, how is this possible? Did you see what's happening? This guy's actually elected, he's like a mayor. Or, so this is what's happening, because we are living now in a socially created bubble world, so we are not listening to the different people and different opinion. So we don't go into discussion because we will be hurt of the other opinion. No, at the moment we turn back, so like, let's say I'm left and Damon is right, or doesn't matter. The moment we stop communicating, and each other is so stubborn and we have our own vision, this is the death of this is the bubbles we're living in. And for the artist, I get it. Sometimes the best way is like seeing their faces on listening session all around the festivals or showcases. You have this listening session, the artist brings the CD and we are listening to this music, and then people comment, and some of them are honest, some not. But seeing some face of the artist and somebody says bad thing, and you see this guy sitting there and like you see in his head, I give my soul to this, like what, and you and I throwing it to the garbage, and I can see it in another person. Like, but still the guy said the better you will hear it and accept it, it will be better for you. But I feel the suffering because this is what you bring. You bring your emotions to us, and we work with your emotion. All industry, business, any term, we are using your emotions and connection with other people, and then you are hurt. This is why I said, or me, like it's not nice to hear. So it's about balancing. You still have to see. Take a critique as a positive thing. I wish somebody came and tell me some things 12 years ago. Did you don't do this, or you're like I would like an advice.
It's about what Martin says also about telling the good things to the bands. I always said to my band, like, dude, nobody cares like about what the wrong things goes on the stage, because the audience which will come to you, the guy who's gonna come to you and say like it was a good show, he really thinks it was a good show. So for an artist it's always like, hey, the lights was bad, I didn't play well this show or whatever. But you know, to convince even artists to say like, okay, accept that it was a good show for the audience who was in front of. it's really hard to do actually.
If you just count, like many of you are playing, like how many gigs you were saying after the concert happened yourself that it was a really good one, rather than oh shit again I fucked that up and then you actually work at and you go like.
Yeah, you actually have to train a little bit the
but
band.
It's good. It's good to challenge yourself. I'm not.
And I will tell you one thing. It doesn't change. Even if you're like a million-star artist, you are still the same. I will not name him, but he was like how say as a baby, like complaining, and he's like he earned millions per show.
Yeah.
So it stays the same. Actually, it will not change. Even if you have an agent, a label, the artist will be still whenever when they release an album, when they hear opinion. It doesn't matter if you're like you or Madonna, it doesn't matter, it hurts the same.
And it even feels like the one who comes to your gig after the gig and says like, it was really good, it feels like, oh, that's the one who doesn't really, didn't really get it. The one who comes like, oh, it was good at the beginning, and then you start listening, oh yeah, what was at the beginning? Yeah, tell me.
This is one thing that manager cannot do for the artist, the emotions and the self-esteem and everything that goes. This is the how they say the beauty of life and the artist road.
This theme that the guys have come with, I'd love to just do a mic drop on close on that. So we'll sort of wrap the session up, but then we're going to hang around for a bit more, just sort of break down into maybe there's some questions you guys have got or anything, but think of now as the end, and then we'll do an encore. So there's two things to really take away. There's the experimentation. You're living at an amazing time where the rules can be written. It's really hard, it's really difficult, but there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's a great time to experiment with all the disruption that digital caused and is still causing. And then this key point that Martin, who's hosted us, Damien, who's come all the way from Gdansk, Didi, who drove up on a nightmare journey all the way up from Zagreb, have talked to us about balance. That's a really key thing to pull out and sort of end on. So I'd really like to thank the guys, Martin for having us.
Yeah.
These guys
thank
for
you,
coming in. Martin knows who we are, he brought us here. If you need to get in touch with me, that's my email address. Didi will pop up in this city every now and then. Stay in touch with each other, build a community. Martin's part of that, you guys are all part of that, help develop each other. I was just going to ask, maybe, have you got any terrible stories of anything that went really wrong?
A lot.
In our area we are like, we can...
Like for example, we played in Belgrade, I think, with Lakus. It was in, there was a 4 bands playing before, and the PA system just like shut it down. It was like club for 200, 300 people. So actually we played without the PA system. The vocalist was shooting from the amp, like the guitar amp. The rest of the band was playing straight from the stage after all, because all we came for the band, and 4 bands played on the PA system, and the main band played from the guitar amp, for example. So yeah, that's one of it. I can tell you more, but
did you have
about
some disasters?
Yeah. I was managing a band almost 15 years.
Yep.
And I always tell them, hey, this is not good, this is necessary to improve, to make better. And they mostly, almost said yes. The only problem was it took almost 3 years always. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a wrong.
So you did like 5 changes during 15 years.
No,
changed like 3 years.
That was improving step to step, but always 3 years gap.
Okay.
I have a positive one, which is we have a small baby, it's Ozora Festival, and at Ozora Festival we do the live stage. And we had like quite few legendary bands. One of the bands many of you might not know, African Head Charge. They were like pioneers of dub and tribal music. They didn't tour for really long, and when they managed them, it was amazing actually, a huge band coming partly from New York, because one of the drummers, the drummer of the biggest current US reggae band, so he flew in from New York. So they arrived on the day when it was a red alert storm on one hand, where we had to completely change all the lineup. They went on stage later, they booked the gig, the way that they go back immediately, they fly back. So they arrived, at the time they arrived, the backliner guys had some issues. The sampler, which the whole band actually, part of the whole story goes, it broke, so there was another sampler, a new one. We had a complete change of lineup. We had just 20-30 minutes to do the sound check, and right after the concert they had to leave. So during the sound check it turned out that actually the backliners didn't know how to use the new sampler, neither the drummer. With the samples nothing started to work. There was about 30-minute concerts that they could actually do. They did a fantastic gig. Then the whole band jumped back into the bus. Meanwhile, we're speaking about 60 plus like age, so just to remember of how flexible you are. Just to look ahead. So the whole band jumped back to the bus. It went back to the hotel because there were the huge DJs, psychedelic trance DJs, but they were like, doped out of their minds, so they couldn't manage to get to the bus. The bus was waiting. The whole band missed their flight. They were the next day on a show in somewhere North England. They missed the flight. They were awake in over 48 hours. That's how they could manage the connection. And then after the whole, we got a mail from the band manager how fantastic time they had.
I had the same.
We just didn't understand the whole, you know, like
same experience.
This vibe and so on.
I had a band from Ireland and my festival, and they were drinking with us on the end of the festival last night. Irish people, you know, drinking to 5, singing 7 morning. The manager, lady manager, came to them. Please, we have a flight in in 2 hours. We have to go. Yeah, okay. On the end, of course, they missed their flight. But till now, I'm getting great emails that there was one of the best shows for them.
I had a band was showcasing in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest, and they had one official showcase booked, and the organisers were like, you can't do any side shows, you've got an official show, you can't go to all these parties and stuff like that. It's really important that we have you on the bill. And they were a prog rock band, so they had like keyboards and stuff like that, and they came from Wales, so we'd had to hire loads of stuff in Austin, and when South by Southwest is on, massive showcase, really hard to hire gear. So we hired all these keyboards and stuff like that, and they're a prog band. They're playing this tiny little club. We've spent ages, myself, my co-manager, working the States, flying over, really expensive, losing a load of money, developing relationships and building up a bit of interest in the States in this band. And we were really fortunate enough with this show to have a person from Wind Up Records, which is a massive independent label, was the biggest in the world at the time, people from Universal, and then we had some booking agents. At that time it was really hard to get a record deal and easy to get a booking agent. And the booking agents were like, Jake, that's Sony over there, because I didn't know everyone. And it was like, you've got the whole room is full, you've got the entire music business here, there's going to be a bidding war. And that sort of word got out, and more people came into the venue, this tiny venue. And we're like, great, we're going to nail this, like champagne, here we go, they're a great live band, they're absolutely going to destroy this room, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life, because we did all the preparation. So the lady from Wind Up Records, Dijana, who's a lovely lady, is wearing a big pink hat, and everyone knows who she is. She'd signed Evanescence and Creed, and she's standing down the front, and everyone knows who she is. So all the record companies can see, shit, Dijana's on it. She's the hottest A&R in the world. Dijana's on it. So they're all up the front, so they compete with Dijana, and they're all buying me drinks, my co-manager drinks, and it's really hot in there. And we're coming up for stage time, and I'm like, oh, they're going on. the tour manager runs out the back and says, all the power's gone. There's no fucking power in the building. You're screwed. And everyone's like, where are you? Come on, come on. And at South by Southwest, everyone's got really busy schedules. They've got a list, they're going to see 15 minutes of your act and then leave to catch the next act starting. So everyone's got to leave. Everyone's in there, but we've got to play right away and we're never going to get a second chance. So, cut a long story short, we can't get the power back on. They're a prog band. Persuade the singer to come out and do like one song acoustic, and it's shit. It's like if Pink here at Pink Floyd just so he comes out and he sings, and I'm like crying my eyes out. The co-manager's punching the wall, and we're like, what the fuck? The band are in bits. No one can look at each other. Everybody's left to see the next hot act taking their checkbooks with them. So. I begged, borrowed and stealed, and we managed to persuade the British Musicians Union had a showcase on like a South by's over barbecue outdoor party event on the Saturday. Pulled in all these favours, managed to get my guys squeezed in on this outdoor show. It was called the Brush Square Barbecue. So it was an outdoor spot in a windy part of Texas. It's very dusty. So they're playing. They're on stage, they're playing. And it's overrunning because it's not an official showcase, it's a British Musicians Union show, it's a nightmare, everything's running, everything's over late. So we managed to persuade some of the record label people, because they'd all seen Dijana down the front with a pink hat, that we were worth seeing. So some people were delaying leaving. And I had a guy who's still very senior within Warner's, was senior at that time. He's there, and his guy keeps running up to me and go, we've got a jet on the runway at Austin Airport, we've got a spot in the takeoff thing, we need to leave, get your fucking band on now, because we're leaving, and the boss is here. And it's like, oh shit, and going up to these other bands, he's like, can we play before you? I've left out the entire thing of how we managed to hire all the equipment, which took us up to just before they got on stage, because we hired the stuff for the show on Thursday, and this was like Saturday afternoon. As they hit the stage, and we managed to get some of the key record label people there, there was a huge sort of gust of wind. It was like a film. Suddenly the clouds went black, and it's like, oh, bits of rain. Oh, and we're outdoors. The big guy from Sony, he's got like two of his staff holding their hands over him like that so he won't get wet, and they're all like, I'm sorry sir, and all that. And he's like, they better be fucking good. And they get on stage, and immediately, because it's America and you can get sued, the crew start ripping down all the equipment, unplugging all the plugs, because it's fucking raining and everyone's going to die. My band are like, we don't care if we die, we're playing to music like we're on. So it's a pity that we didn't all have smartphones and YouTube, but that I can replay in my head this 5-piece prog band going into all their bits and having the stage dismantled beneath them. So you end up with this poor singer soaked to the skin with no microphone, singing his heart out, and the band's gone and everyone's gone and all the record company people go. And eventually someone from Warner's sneaks up to me and he's like, your guy's got some pipes, he can sing, we'll see you in New York. And we're like, no, we've got, like, our visas are up, we have a flight back. And he's like, no, we're paying, don't fucking worry about it, you're coming to New York. And he goes off, and then the other labels came up to me and went, they'll pay to bring you to New York, but we'll show you a better time, we'll see you up there. And so we ended up with they got a deal without anyone seeing them, so it was a happy ending. There was a bidding war, probably because no one saw them, but at the point where it was raining like that, I was ready to die. It was a disaster.
So for all of you who wants to come to management, who are not artists, or the artist who wants to be a manager, it's really hard, but it's fun. Yeah, this is one thing we can promise you. And we have actually, I won't go into the bad stuff because it's too many of them, and the young boy, and he will just stop working, he will just stop playing. I'm joking. One of the things I noticed, like it happened to the most bands in ex-Yugoslavia, that they succeed. They were working for 15 to 20 years. They actually went through the hardest part. When they came to the success, and by success I mean international label, live agency, biggest festival, good names, then they fell apart. psychology.
It's general, not just Yugoslavia.
In our areas, because it's like, but we have the higher percentage of the ones who came, is like the ones who came the closest, all of them like fell apart. It's like the curse of the being successful. Everything that you work for, by the time you get it, then. So I would say to be more having understanding to each other, like more tolerance, more patience. Just to accept some things, all of us, we have to accept that we're Czech and Croatian, that we won't be like, we're not the Russians and American superpowers. We don't have, you were actually luckier here, what the Jarmila said yesterday from Slovakia, but it's better in Croatia. I said, what, we don't have even Spotify or iTunes, we don't have an export office, like how can it be better? Yeah, you have a seaside, yeah, but that doesn't make anything for the musicians or the bands. So each time we see, I will think, oh, it's so nice in Poland, it's better than in Croatia. And then Marcel will say, oh, I'm from Hungary, it's better in Czech Republic. Like, you always see the neighbor's grass is greener. And especially we look at your yard and we go and most of the people go there, oh, I wish I would be like in UK if I were there. No, it's like the same. They like on every level you are, even if you like you in UK, they think it's not the quality of life there. It's lower than here, so we have still some things better. So it's always like it will never be perfect. Like there is no matter of the money or success will come. We hope. I hope that everybody of us will be able to live from our work actually. And this is the point why we're here. We need to go from our enthusiastic volunteer level in our countries to be business. We will keep our spirit, but we need a new generation to join us to work with the artists, and this is why I think the managers in our countries are the most crucial part, not the labels, not the booking agents, tour managers.
It just remind me like the one story I had also about we get on the air the show at the air. There was like 5 bands playing on the stage, and there wasn't a stage manager for doing stuff. So after 5 minutes, I had to be a stage manager for the 5 bands after all to just
Once
run
I
the
was
show.
the sound technician. This is
awesome.
Our sound technician got drunk on the show, and we didn't have any, and he really got drunk. And then I was like, okay.
How to do it?
This was one of the worst. I put it somewhere back in my mind. I don't want to. So even be prepared for everything. And be brave.